Hi, my name is Michael Garriga. I'll be reading from the Book of Duels. Each story consists of 3 different narrators, all at the height of a intense moment. The first one is Pistols at 20 Paces, Lacrois versus Thigpen, on the last recorded duel in Hancock County, Mississippi, April 23rd, 1866. The first speaker is, as he walks away 20 paces, Philip Lacroix. He's 51, he's a colonel in the Confederate States Army. He robbed me more grossly than Grant, more deeply than Lincoln, and these 20 paces pale compared to the 1,000 miles and more I walked from that captured officer's camp in Illinois, where snow seeped through my shoe soles so cold I cut felt from my hat to patch them warm and dry. And back home, the courthouse burned down. Damn that General Butler, I'd hang him were I the governor. And with it went all the county records, deeds and land titles and all. My slaves were free and stole what all they could carry, and after I had taken such good care of them as God set forth for me in dominion. So this traitor and coward and former friend of mine, who ate of my lunch Sundays after church, could take my lawful owned cattle and claim them for his own, after I branded their hides while my darkies held them still. The smell of torched flesh in my hair and nose, that odor so like a battlefield, while a persistent wind like this one blows brittle leaves and cools the sweat burning on my skin, and the judge, he hollers, "Fire!" I turn and squeeze the stiff trigger. I know I am right in this course, and God will prove me true with the aim of my bullet. Hot sulfur smell, thick smoke and sunlight, and a snarl of flame like the hell we're both bound for. Etienne Thigpen, 46, veteran U.S. Artillery Division. Now he come home, a full-headed war hero, to judge and insult me. We walked down to the lower field of fresh-turned earth, iron and onion and scat, where he accused me of stealing his cows, which I had bought clear, got a cash ticket for proof. And now I'm sorry I ever prayed for his sorry old soul. Sure, I ran some hooch out to the blockade, but that don't make me no traitor. Just a traitor. With them boys in blue who gave me coffee, the same chicory then as what coats my tongue now. And more, I suffered the hardships of war, boiling water to get at the salt to keep my food, and done fought my war too. Took a bullet in Mexico with old Robert E. Lee, and now my sweat clammy palms wrap around this pistol butt, smell horse lather and oil on the iron piece, see the mildewed Spanish moss tendrils come ribboning off oaks slashed by sunbeams. Accuse me of stealing and lying to boot. I refute his claim same as I did old Thibodeau's back in '53. May God rest his soul in smoke and flame eternal. And I hear the judge say, "Fire!" I turn, and my hand blooms a white cloud of smoke as though I'm holding a fistful of baby's breath. But good gracious, boys, I'm hit and done. Please say sweet things of me to Mary. Mrs. Etienne Thigpen, née Mary Annette Cuevas, 18, watching her husband duel. From where I crouch behind the pleached cross-hatchings of azalea branches, I see the 2 men standing back to back like stuck twins, and wonder how they can be that close and not kill each other now. Etienne's face flushed, his shoes as always thick with mud, and that preening blowhard Philippe just as calm as Sunday afternoon, his clothes pressed and his boots polished and shined, prepared for death or murder one. Yet it's my hands that rattle these petals from the branches. Beyond them, the gulf catches the sunlight in little spinning coins, like the bright dimples in the cheeks of the Kentuck man who touched my wrist at the St. Stanislaus social, and who in that moment bade me run away with him to New Orleans, to stroll along the banquettes arm in arm under the ironwork balconies, and to eat almond truffles or pralines, brought round by Creole women, wearing bright-colored tignons and hoop earrings that brush their bare shoulders like I wish I could wear mine. We'd attend the Condé Street balls dancing and sweating under the flambeau, where we'd glide through the measures of the contradances, sip wine in the American cabarets until I'd retire to his arms in bed, and he could take my ankles and toes in his mouth, and I'd take him in mine, and he'd not smell like cattle in night soil. I yearned to leave these backward outhouse men, whose petty wars and self-puffery leave me hungry as the war ever did, when I had to parch corn to make coffee till my guts were pulled like the dead girl from my womb, whom I buried in secret while Etienne was off making whiskey or God knows what. To walk away as these men have walked away one from the other, but without sense enough between them to know it better to continue to walk, and never to turn around as they have turned now. Fire! A twin roaring, two great clouds of smoke and a scream. I have prayed for this bittersweet moment, the taking of Etienne away from me. In my dreams, I am not his little marionette, hiding behind a bush, heart pounding so hard it makes my hands shake, but rather I am the bullet, squeezed from the burning steady barrel, freed. Into the greasy grass, Custer versus Ska, during the Battle of Little Bighorn on the Crow Reservation, the Montana Territory, June 25th, 1876. Our first duelist, George Armstrong Custer, 36, Lieutenant Colonel of the U.S. 7th Cavalry. As I drove victory through the river and urged my men to follow, a whole horde of the heathen rise from the brush of the banks and train their rifles and arrows on us. So I fire my carbine till the barrel tip glows red and my cheek burns and my ear becomes a ringing, hollowed bell. One shot hits my trunk and carries me off my mount. And when I hit the water, my breath quits me, and all I can see is the face of Grant, his general stars taken out and polished by his black man servant, his swollen fingers wrapped round the stem of the champagne flute he hoists, muttering a toast to our nation's centennial, his yellowed eyes steadfast upon that bottle. I rise from the water, rivulets streaming behind my ears, my twin English bulldog pistols barking in my hands. I unleash handfuls of shot, and I am enshrouded in hot white smoke, thick as the bouquet of Queen Anne's lace I gave Libby on our wedding day. I should be the one standing before the assembled Congress, entreating our Lord to protect our nation, my adoring Libby by my side, silk spilling over her bustle, as an artist makes our portrait for the White House walls. Grant sent me here because of the kickback barrel scandal, and to avenge his foolish brother and the Secretary of State for the truths I spoke of them before Congress. But I always did look good in the press, so I acquiesced. It shall be my honor, Mr. President, to serve at your behest and clear the way for peace and progress. But you, sir, shall know my cavalier genius and pin all 4 stars to my blue coat, the one Libby will clean and press with her own hands. But now the gun's ivory handles lie cool against my skin, and before me stands my assassin, the man I have missed with each dang shot. He levels his rifle, and all I have left is this one prayer. Perhaps a single bullet lies hidden in the guts of these guns. So heave-chested and steely-eyed as the morning sun, I aim my sidearms and charge, high-stepping through the water, the wind cooling my skin as I squeeze the triggers on the empty chambers, squeeze them as gentle as if they were Libby's pale hands. His last bullet, Lord, it's found its mark and passes through every folding drape of my brain, and I fall back again, and I see the sky one final time before the cold water clouds my eyes. But it doesn't hurt, Libby. I swear not a bit compared to never having you so up square on my shoulders again. Ptebloka Ska, a.k.a. White Cow Bull, 28, Oglala Sioux warrior. I had soaked myself in bull lard against the cool waters of the greasy grass where I swam this morning ahead of the battle with the bluecoats, and I was lying naked in the lawn cloth in yucca and sage grasses when like the hawk they bushwhacked us, crossed the coulee upstream unannounced and raided our camp. I crawled behind the rocks where I had stood my weapons, wanting only the head of their leader, Longlocks, who years ago kidnapped fair Monacita and forced his baby inside her. And though I have spoken to her only through the open flaps of her teepee, I love her, and have wished in my best heart to walk with her under a cording blanket and make her my wife. But she has rejected me, only because I said I would even welcome her bastard blonde boy, the one they say twins Longlocks likeness. So last night I sang the suicide song, and I danced till the drums in my heart were one. I came out here to war with no belief I would ever return alive to my tribe. And since I cannot find the man I want, that coward, that rapist, I will, in his stead, have the head of another. So I blast from his saddle the first pink man who rides through the cottonwood trees, and the water weighs down the buckskin of his clothes. He wears this to hide his hairy body, but still he rises from the river like great medicine, his voice growling like a wolf as it eats one brave white man at last, and I freeze and let him fire his bullets, but they will not have me. They fly by whistling like notes played through an eagle-bone flute. And so he charges on, and I put my next shot straight through his skull, and shrill and take my hatchet for a coup, hoping some Sioux will later tell Monacita of my courage. Like a lover, his half-Sioux traitor collects him in his arms, and I drop my rifle, and I catch by its mane the dead man's pinto, and spring to its back, and heft my hatchet high, and holler the war cry Crazy Horse has taught us to live by. "Hoka-hey!" I shout. "Hoka-hey!" And it is a good day to die, my friend, but an even better day to kill. Mitch Bouyer, 39, Custer's chief of scouts, half French and half Sioux. When Custer went down, I hopped from my Rackabones pony and ran in after him, my heart tight as a fist in my throat. Yet before I could reach him, he rose and charged into the hornet's nest, and still I followed. And that warrior stood awfully still with clumps of earth and prairie grass clinging to his skin like Wankantanka's own revenge. Bullets and dogs are everywhere, and Custer's head explodes against my face, a chip of bone blinding my right eye, and I catch his falling corpse, and some bastard calls to me, "Let him go, you damn half-breed!" And he kicks me loose and takes him away. The earth under the water trembles as the braves thunder by on horseback, routing the whites who scatter like blackbirds, and I am kneeling half-blind in the water when a chill shadow covers me, a silhouette horse rearing its stocking hooves thrashing above me. I make out its belly and chest and neck and giant head, and I know I should not have been here. And I know I should not have befriended Custer. I should not have translated the Blue Coat treaties, which I knew to be lies. And because they came from my lips, they became my lies too. I should have stayed with Magpie as she suckled our newborn. And I should have chased our children about the teepee, laughing, and I should have roasted them rabbits on spits as the moon crested the hills and the ponies whinnied in the distance. I should have made clear to Custer that Sioux and buffalo are not two but one, and that slaughter of the animal is slaughter of the man. I should have killed Custer in his sleep. I should have braided my horse's mane with feathers and colored twine, put my blue clay handprint on its haunch, and ridden alongside this warrior here who now sets his pinto down, the man rising in sight like something come over the horizon. Yet he remains only a shadow, with his hatchet held high, and I put my arms across my bloody face as if to block a brilliant light, but then I drop them by my sides and rise to my feet and raise my chin and say in my purest Lakota, "Go ahead, Tenancy, and try to cleave me in two any more than I already am." So a friend of mine, Scott Gage, went to the last legal cockfight in the United States, and he came back with a t-shirt that said, "Yeah, cockfighting's my hobby, what's yours, who gives a damn?" And that tickled me so much, that along with the idea of a cockfight. And I thought I would inhabit the two birds with two boxers' souls. So I picked one is Muhammad Ali and the other is Emil Griffin, a middleweight boxer in the 60s who would dance shirtless with a pink feather boa in men's clubs, and was called Americon, which apparently in Spanish is the rudest word for a homosexual, and he killed that man in the ring. And I thought, okay, this will be interesting to write. So I tried to inhabit the souls of those two boxers into the birds and try to reimagine it. And I'm only going to read the two birds and not the witness for this one, because the witness gives away the Shakespearean horror of what happens in the ring. All right, so here's the two voices of the two birds. Peleas de Gallo, Caesar versus I Am. In the last legal cockfight in the United States, Pumpkin Center, Louisiana, August 15th, 2008. The first bird is Cesar Julies, 29 months. He's a Dan Gray roundhead, 4.02 pounds. His record in the ring, 8-0. Because if he was 8-1, he would be dead. A peace steals the certain center of me when he takes my beak inside his mouth, rubs my fluff feathers and settles the jerking muscles along my spine. And he does not call me Chanticleer nor the vile cock, but always Cesar, always Cesar, cooing with his sweet hands on me. Even as they dubbed my wattle and comb, his look calmed me. His eyes focused my attention, saved me from all distraction. The pickup trucks eaten by rust and rent with neglect. The old man pushing the wheelbarrow filled with ice water and cans of beer, shouting above the other shouts of men with cash and knives pushed at each other. The smells of turpentine and sawdust, whiskey and tobacco. So I'll crow from the mountaintops. I love my man more than my hens. Shameful to some, I know. Like this rooster strutting across from me, contempt nested there in his eyes. Yet in these last still moments before combat, I can't help myself. I slip into thoughts of his hands on my back cape, stroking my neck in the solemn way he takes the leather straps and wets them and fastens the razor gaffs to my spur stumps, and runs his thumbnails up the ridges of my shank. Sometimes I feign fevered exhaustion just so he'll spit in my mouth, almost, but never quite quenching my thirst. And for his affections I have become lethal, killing again and again and again. And though I hate the spurting gore I cause my fellow birds, bleeding their lives out for me, I'd bathe, gladly preening in their guts for the joy it brings my man. And this puffed-up bantam across from me will be no different. Steady me, son, and forgive me, please, my unnatural love, but I will have my man crow once more. Cesar! Cesar! I Am, 26 months, O'Neill Red, 4.07 pounds, record 6-0, because if he was 6-1, he would be dead. Me rooster strut daddy, me senior cock of the walk, got a prick longer than your talon gaff. Look at this Maricon, this capon they brought me to slay. Too lazy to learn his proper pecking order place. I put him just above these sad-ass men who've come to see this rooster snuffed again, but ain't brought enough fire to kill me yet. I can see it in his eyes cooing that cock-handler's eyes. But what's a man to me but a builder of fences and cages, while I am free with skill enough to holler for the sun, and the sun no better than not rise when I peck and call, because I am the greatest. Been blessed with this chest, swollen and strong as any bantam you ever saw. When asked why fight, I say, why not? I am. Hot like July sand, like God don't give a damn, and it ain't nothing but a thing for me to survey my land, perched 10 feet off the ground, while empty-headed chicken heads empty their eggs into my nest. I am. Still here because I say you ain't, and because I say it, boy, you ain't. I am. Just bowed up and so purty. Watch how I dance my cockerel waltz, and when you call me fighter, I correct you. I say killer. 4 pounds of fury ready for any round robin, rounding up robins and bobbin jays, straying too close to the lane, keeping them fox and them snake at bay. And you needs to pray, little one, for the odd chance to find any one of my tail feathers fallen. Use it as a talisman to conjure the devil, and when you do, ask him for me. Which came first, old Scratch, the chicken or the egg? And that old-timer will tell you every time, that badass bird I am, 'cause I am. My name is Michael Garriga. I appreciate you listening to these stories, and I'd like to give a shout out to the Community Partnership for Arts and Culture, CPAC, for their generous support of my work. Thank you.